how strong are the institutions? How empowered are they?
But what I answered to you, I took off as a teacher. Human mind and human factor is not what you overturn a night. The bell is ringing. That is no more the business as usual.
Okay.
And that bell is what will lead us to where we're going.
Okay. Mr. Akinsuju, is it possible to strengthen institutions by just finances? Is it possible to, or is it necessary to have both a reorientation where they think the nation, like Mr. Ezekiel said, and then add the other part, let the financial part, the remuneration, be like a plus? How can this work without proper information or communication?
I think fundamental to even orientation is communication, you know. And of course...
Are we getting enough of that?
Oh, well, it depends on... Again, there's also a need for the Nigerian reorientation in assessing information. We have a relatively large population, and a percentage of that population too that is not so empowered to access information. You know, even if it's the most popular medium of information is still radio, because you don't need access to electricity. If you have your battery and all that, you can get that. And now you also have your phone, you know. But again, even the use of those things, you know, by Nigerians are somehow not exactly aligned to accessing information, you know. And that is why even in the discussion of the budget, you see people who should naturally develop stakeholders' interest in the budget, because the budget, perhaps for the first time, is also targeting the very poor and the vulnerable. If you have a society that has a surfeit of information and people can access it, you should have some more people talking about how do we circle out of this poverty with this 500 billion naira thing. There's a promise of 500,000 employment for teachers, you know. If 2 million graduates are talking about assessing that employment opportunity, we will not be talking about some of the aspects of the budgets we are talking about, you know. And because it's because of this base of the pyramid population, you know, that are limited in accessing information, you know. So for me, it is not about the quantum of information. It's about enabling the process of information. Because, I mean, there are so many TV stations, there are so many radio stations. I don't see any day the Minister of Information or somebody in government not talking about something, you know. But the truth of the matter is, in reorientating our people, there is a need to galvanize new thoughts, new attitude, you know. There is a need to be more nationalistic in our perspective. We have something, I mean, fundamental issues that draw us down. Even in the face of reality, you know, in the face of reality and all that, we still argue, you know, we still argue and appeal to our base sentiments. We need to start moving away from that, you know. And there's also a need for that stakeholders' point of view, perspective by each Nigerian. Even take it from your selfish interest, that in this country I want to survive. And I want to survive along the line that is natural, that is given, that is institutionalized. And that is why I personally look forward to establishment of processes and procedures. So that if I want to get my son into the university, I don't need to beg anybody. All I need to do is to groom my child. Or bribe anybody. All I need to do is to groom my child properly for the exams. If I want to sit for an interview, I only need to groom myself properly. And at least I am assured of fair chance if I get to sit at the interview panel. If I want to bid for a contract, and I believe I'm properly suited for it, I should have the opportunity and be able to access it. That is what we need in Nigeria. Equal access to opportunities.
Okay. We have to wind down now, so I'll just go around and take your last word on it. Taking into consideration all these issues that we've spoken about, and the way forward, what should we be doing as Nigerians I mean, Nigeria belongs to all of us. And government, yes, but who is government? Government is not doing, government is not doing, government is not doing. What are you doing as a Nigerian to make your country greater?
There are three generations. You have the boomers, you have the Generation X, you have the millennials. Born before 62 or thereabout, they're the boomers. They don't understand Nigeria. They understand regions. I'm Igbo man, northern Nigeria, eastern Nigeria, western Nigeria. They were not born into the Nigerian flag. They were not born into the national anthem. They see regions. They understand Nigeria as regions. So they hold on to their tribes as if their life depends on it.
Okay.
The Generation X are in, out. But those that you can look into to evolve Nigeria are the millennials, those who were born from 85 up. So if we are to redefine the Nigeria project, which is a town hall meeting we're having this afternoon, the young people want to really understand what is Nigeria? Who is Nigeria? Do you understand me? We need to have that conversation. That conversation is not being held. It must be held. We must sit together to redefine Nigeria. There are two types of Nigeria. There is the EU concept of Nigeria, where France is France, Britain is Britain, Yugoslavia is Yugoslavia, but they've come under an umbrella called the European Union, and they operate, and they're happy to operate. Do we want to leave northern Nigeria, the Hausa Fulani, the Fulanis, the Igbos, and let them be themselves, and we live under an umbrella called Nigeria? Or do we want to have a true federalism, true federal structure, where state of origin is not as important as state of residence? There are some people that were born in Lagos, they've lived in Lagos, they are Lagosians, they can't even speak Akwa Ibom. Do you understand me? When you say state of origin, they put Akwa Ibom. They don't know anything about Akwa Ibom. They want to stand elections in Lagos. They say, no, you're not a Lagosian. These are the fundamentals we must look at as a nation and take a decision where Nigeria, as we see, belongs to all of us, and we have equal right.
Mr. Keshigu?
My appeal is very simple. That the Nigerian people should know that the hardship on the ground cannot continue indefinitely. That we should join Mr. President in trying to build a progressive and prosperous country. He is gathering the woods for the main dish, and we should support him in doing that. Because, as Ezekiel said, if there's a prosperous Nigeria, nobody will remember the tribe. If there's a prosperous Nigeria, nobody will remember the religion. Studies have shown that most of those who were recruited by Boko Haram were because they are in a state of despair. That if they were doing well, we have not heard of any medical doctor somewhere that is doing well as a proficient doctor that they recruited. So let's join in building these building blocks of a progressive and prosperous country.
Mr. Keshiju?
Yeah, I think drawing from that is the need for Nigerians to start frowning at abuse of power and privileges. Yeah. I think the last figure I assessed is that just about 15,000 plus Nigerians have direct access to 25% of our national wealth. Now, you cannot have such figure and expect national orientation to work or even to be sustained, because again, those 50,000 people do not belong to a particular ethnic or region, or whatever,
yes.
So they find unity in assessing that access, the Commonwealth, and they will do everything, to deny others.
Yes.
So I think the precondition is to first create a level playing field for all Nigerians. Then starting from that, of course, we know we are all stakeholders in the Nigerian project.
And just before we go, Aleo, they have this plenty of tweets coming in, but let me read this by Be Optimized. It says, corruption is not a person, but an unfair, inequitable way of getting things done. You fight it by replacing it with a better system. You don't put the cart before the horse. Institute a fair and equitable way of doing things, in bracket merit, and the rest will build on it.
Exactly. Thank you very much for those tweets, and that's a good place to leave it this morning. We have been chatting with Mr. Ni Akinshiji, who's a policy analyst, an APC chieftain, Mr. Osita Okechukwu, as well as the national chairman of the Young Democratic Party, Mr. Ezekiel Nya-Etuk.
Thanks for being one of our members.
Thank you all very much for coming, gentlemen. Sunrise will be back in just a moment with yet another very interesting conversation. Do join us.